He'll make it for sure. Now that's why I backed him on Tap Touch.
Hey, Luke.
Yes, Gene Simmons?
He's probably the best when it comes to this stuff.
Thanks, Gene.
You've got the touch. You got the touch. You got the power. Got the touch? Choose Tap Touch. Better your bet. Download the app today.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
Hoops Heaven proudly brings to you Basketball Hustle.
Ellis fumbled the ball. 2 on the shot clock. Goes up a prayer. Yes! As he was falling to the ground, it's a 3. He shot it literally from the hip.
Definitely a highlight.
Here come the Billikens. 4-on-2. McCall. Ellis. Left corner. Bang! From way down under. Cody Ellis.
Now it's time for another episode of Hoops Heaven's Basketball Hustle.
Hello and welcome to Hoops Heaven's Basketball Hustle for another weekend. Fair to say we've seen an offensive explosion all of a sudden, Cody.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you're getting your wish of defense across the league, but you are getting your wish of a lot of points, yes. which is fun to watch, and a lot of those points are still coming from Bryce Cotton. We probably didn't think he could get much better than 59 points in a game, but all of a sudden he has another 89 across 2 games, and he's in the form of his life right now, or in the words of Mike Wells, he's the best player on the planet right now. Yeah. So we'll have a chat about him and what his future holds as well, which is a fascinating discussion. But it's not just the Wildcats, and it's not just Bryce putting up a lot of points. You have a look at the Brisbane Bullets, and they put up 220 plus points across the weekend, Cody. They're putting up a lot of points, and a lot of those are from Casey Prather. It's fair to say Rob Lowe's having the time of his life playing basketball right now as well. Fascinating situation with the Adelaide 36ers getting their suspended players back, but copping injuries now to offset that. And good weekends for the Sydney Kings, the Illawarra Hawks, the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, and the Tasmania JackJumpers. Not so much for the New Zealand Breakers, who are in a fair bit of trouble right now, as we thought they might be. That sounds like a pretty packed schedule, Cody. I'm Chris Pike. I'll leave it there and let you tell us whatever's on your mind right now, Cody.
Yeah, look, too much at the moment. A lot going on with work and obviously a lot going on with basketball. Yes. So, look, another packed round, like you said, and look, good to see some offense flowing, which we hadn't seen too much of this year. And you're right, defense is still severely lacking. So, I think Damo's probably struggling to find defensive players each round.
It's very tough for him to come up with 3 players right now, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So, but no, look, it's good that we're kind of getting a bit more free-flowing action. That's always good for spectators and people that just enjoy watching the game. So, can't complain too much about that.
Well, we talked about a 3 or 4 week stretch where the games were a bit of a grind to watch.
Yeah.
A bit more fun to watch right now.
Yeah, exactly. It was probably about a month. It was difficult to watch every single game. Yeah. Didn't matter who was playing. It was just a grind and a slog and, not overly enjoyable. So, to see it a bit more free-flowing is great.
Yes. Do we have some making up to do to your wife after last week?
No, she's okay. She is fine. No, she enjoyed the little bit of banter, which was good. I mean, appreciated the shout-out as always.
One thing that I should have asked you about your son Chase, though, we've seen LeBron and we've seen Bronny play together in the NBA.
Yeah.
Is there any chance you hang in there long enough to share the court with your son?
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. Maybe at a domestic level, but not at an NBL 1 level, I'll tell you that much, because he's still got a long way to go, and I don't have that much longer to go. So, I don't think so.
Has he ever brought it up? Has he ever asked?
No, not at this point yet. So I don't think he's looking that far ahead.
Hello to Elvis, who's got his jumping beans with him right now. Did you ever play with your dad at any sort of a level?
Yeah, so I played with Dad and all my uncles.
Oh, wow.
At the old Wanneroo Stadium.
Yes.
Played domestic there, and it was always a lot of fun. Yeah. I think I was about 13, 14 years old, so I probably wasn't meant to be playing, but it was so much fun. Yeah. It was awesome, and to be able to play with all of them was great. Yeah. So, look, looking back on it is pretty crazy. Obviously, when I was going through it, I was just like, it's cool, but you didn't think too much about it. Yeah. And looking back, it was pretty special.
No, that's awesome. All right, let's get down to business. Round 11 in the NBL, Cody. Before we get to that, what about the Heritage Round? Any of the jerseys really stand out to you?
Oh, lots of them. I really enjoyed most of them, to be honest with you. I think
it's the best job that the league's ever done with the uniforms.
By a long way. I think the Cats 95 jerseys, they're one of my favourite jerseys ever. The Magic jerseys for the Phoenix, they were amazing. They were so clean. Hawks jerseys were awesome. I could literally point out to every single jersey. I thought they all did a really good job, and always love this round. Always love to see the throwback jerseys, and it's always good to kind of represent a bit of the club's history in all the clubs, and it's always fun.
I love the black and the blue of the New Zealand Breakers, but it also makes me feel old that's now a heritage uniform, because when they wore that to win championships, that was sort of at the peak of me being involved in the league. So it's scary to think that that's now a heritage uniform, and thank you to Albus for all these background noise.
Yeah, well, it's crazy because when I first came into the league, they were still in the black and blue. So it's same thing. It's making me feel a little old as well.
All right, let's go through the results because we saw a lot of points scored. Started last Thursday night with a doubleheader. Melbourne United beat the New Zealand Breakers 97-70. Then we saw the Cairns Taipans went close. They went close twice this weekend and probably missed two chances to end that losing streak. But the Tasmania JackJumpers beat them 99-90. And then Friday night we saw the Brisbane Bullets 102-83 over the Adelaide 36ers. And then a lot of points here. Illawarra Hawks beat the Perth Wildcats 121-111 despite the 40 points from Bryce Cotton. And then on Saturday, Sydney Kings beat the New Zealand Breakers 98-83. And another one that the Taipans missed a chance in, the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix beat them 99-94. And then look at these games on the Sunday. For whatever reason, the Sunday games always seem to be the most dramatic and the most entertaining this season. So the Brisbane Bullets first up beat Melbourne United 122-114, and then the Perth Wildcats with Bryce's 49 points, 115-105 over the 36ers. What jumps out?
Lots of things. No, look, Cairns obviously probably disappointed not to get at least one of those wins. I thought they played a lot better. Obviously helps when you got everyone healthy, right?
Yes.
And that's what we've been saying. So, but it's always going to take them a bit of time to figure each other out again. And yeah, look, I expect them to start to turn a corner, and that losing streak is going to break pretty soon, I would assume. Look, obviously, the Cats just piling points on the board, and obviously a lot of that's to do with Bryce, but, everyone else is chipping in as well. And obviously with Bryce doing what he's doing, everyone else gets freed up a little bit. So, look, piling points on, but not so much stopping other teams from piling them on as well, unfortunately. And then, realistically, I think just the Breakers and how much of a fall-off they've had. Since, that change that they've had and inserting Taco into the lineup, and, we're kind of seeing what we predicted early in that Taco's only going to be able to play 1-2 minute spurts here and there. And that's pretty much what he did on the weekend.
It is. Well, he only played one of the two games, and I don't think he spent more than 2 minutes at a time on the floor.
And he can't. Just guards are too good in this league. The bigs are too good as well. He can't move the same way that he needs to be able to, unfortunately. And it's really thrown a spanner in the works for New Zealand. And I'm sure, looking at Twitter, lots of their fans are not overly impressed.
Yeah, well, we'll get to them shortly. But I feel like the spirit's been ripped out of them to go from 7-3 to 7-7, and I'm not sure if they're going to be able to turn it around from here. Let's get to our votes firstly before we get to all the points we saw enter Bryce Cotton. Very difficult to stand out defensively, as Damian Martin found Cody in his Best Defensive Player award. But Will Magnay, another 3 votes, and best thing about it was that Scott Roth saved his challenge for late in that game against the Taipans, and he challenged one of his blocks and
learned his lesson.
And it was overturned within 5 seconds. So Will Magnay, the 3 votes, and he's now leading as well. He's now overtaken Wani Swaka Lobaluk in the votes. Xavier Cooks got the 2, and Shea Yili another vote as well. In your mind, has Will overtaken Wani as the best defender right now, or are they still pretty much neck and neck?
It's tough. Wani did have 40 points scored on him this weekend, so that's a tough one.
It's funny you say that, but I feel like it was the best defensive job you could ever do on anyone when he still scores 40 points.
I totally agree. I think he was still really good.
Especially in the second half. He was instrumental in winning the game.
And, I mean, Bryce is just on a historic tear. I mean, there's not much you can do. There's not too many players around the world that would be able to stop him. So, I mean, that's probably a frustrating one for him in that he probably walked away thinking not much else I could have done, and he still had 40 put on him. So, no, look, I think I still think Wani's up there as one of the best defensive. And again, it's hard to compare just because one's 1-2 and one's a 5-man. So it's really hard to compare. But the refs need to figure out how to ref Will above, off the floor. And
all these blocks are so clean. Why are they still blowing their whistle?
He does such a good job of not even getting body contact. Yep. He does such a good job of raising straight up and getting the ball. A lot of the time is with his left hand.
Yep.
And he kind of keeps that gap between him and whoever's attacking the rim. Yep. He does a really good job of that. And the refs keep calling it, unfortunately. And that's something that we've spoken about on this show a few times. As soon as the players leave the floor, the refs aren't sure how to call it. And it's something that over the past few years has become a lot more part of the game. So kind of when I was playing, it wasn't too much above the rim that it was played. It was certainly not myself anyway. But it's something that they've got to adjust and figure out how to call, because that's back-to-back weeks of pretty bad calls on something that was an elite block. And
I think it showed by how quickly they overturned it. And the one where he grabbed out of Gerald Martin's hands the week before, that would have been overturned probably even quicker.
Oh, it would have been 100%. They probably wouldn't have even needed to go to them. Just look at the big screen.
Yeah.
Does he still get a block for those, though, even though it's overturned?
Yeah, it's a good question, because it ends up going back to the centre court for a jump ball.
Yeah.
So he only got credited with 2 for the entire game, and I feel like he had a lot more than 2 for the game.
Possibly. So it's an interesting one. So I'd assume probably not.
Yeah.
But that's got to be frustrating.
Absolutely is. But he's now leading in the demo, so that's one thing Will can hang his hat on. No surprise that Bryce Cotton is now leading Simon Mitchell's Player of the Year award either, thanks to Sports Card World, because in our lifetime we've never seen anyone do what he's doing. No one has scored 3 straight 40-plus point games since Andrew Gaze in 1991. Yeah. That's the same year you were born, wasn't it?
1990. So I was 1 then, and so I certainly don't remember that.
Yes. So Bryce Cotton another 5 votes clearly, but look at the Brisbane Bullets. Casey Prather 4 votes, Tyrell Harrison the 3 votes, then Will Magnay the 2, Nathan Sobey the 1. Jack White from Melbourne United, unlucky, says Simon Mitchell. Also Kendrick Davis, what a return.
Yeah. He
made. Tough to argue, but it also shows that the Brisbane Bullets are gathering some momentum too.
Yeah, they really are. And look, all those spot on. And you're right, White and Davis probably a bit unlucky, but had some fairly impressive performances this weekend. So, look, lots of these guards getting just kind of pushed to the side with Bryce, playing against Bryce. We had Parker Jackson Cartwright with, 37 and 10 or 11 in Bryce's 49-point game, a 59-point game. And then you got Davis, doing his thing and a heck of a return.
37 and 11, and no one's talking about it.
No one, exactly. So you got to feel for some of those guys, But it was a fun round to kind of pick out Player of the Years, and I'm sure Simon had a tough time picking 5.
Yes.
Well, picking 4, because one was always going to pick Bryce.
Yes, absolutely. Let's talk about the offense that we're seeing right now. So across the 8 games in round 11, the winning team averaged 106.6 points. We've seen entire rounds before where no team is scoring over 100 points. They might be lucky to get to 90 to win games. We're now seeing the winning score 106 points, which is incredible. Even the losing teams, they're still scoring 93.8.
Yep.
So out of the 16 teams that played this weekend, 7 of them scored 100-plus points. What's behind it?
I really don't know. It's a bit of a lack of defense, obviously, like we've spoken about. But I think teams are starting to find a bit of a groove, and the games have been a little bit more free-flowing. It's not stopping every single possession with whistles or with turnovers or that kind of a thing. It's been a lot more free-flowing, which has, again, been a lot more enjoyable to watch.
Yes.
So, like you said, we've seen rounds where winning average is at 93.8. And that's this season.
Yeah.
It's been such a strange season so far. And, the first 2 rounds we were excited with how it was looking. And then all of a sudden there was just a massive drop-off and it became tough to watch. And it's starting to be on the up and up again, which is fun. But, look, just lots of outstanding performances by individuals, and then guys around them also stepping up. So it's something that we haven't seen in quite some time with winning margins like that. And as much as I want to see some sort of defense played, I don't hate watching this kind of a game either.
What's standing out to me is the pace. It seems like more and more teams want to be playing at a fast pace. So everyone's trying to get out and run. And I feel like Melbourne United set the tone with that. And now everyone, and Illawarra, in fairness, but everyone's now trying to follow that. I mean, you see the Brisbane Bullets beat Melbourne at their own game by trying to play fast, and it worked for them. I mean, Adelaide, Perth, almost every team's now trying to play at a very fast pace. We're not seeing anybody want to get into a half-court grind. We're not seeing the shot clock get into single figures very often. Everyone's wanting to take quick shots. I feel like, without looking at the numbers, I feel like there's a lot more possessions in each game as a result. Yeah,
for sure. And look, we said that about the Wildcats at the start of the season. If they were going to be really, really good this year, they were going to have to get out and run. They've got the perfect team to do that. But lots of the other teams are built for that as well. I think, we see it with Southeast as well. I think King's done a really good job of defensively getting them up the floor and putting pressure on, but they're also running the other way.
I think that's helping them play faster 100%. Offensively too.
Yeah, exactly. So they're up and in, and they're pushing the ball a lot better, and well, they're probably not getting stops because no one is. But it's kind of helping them offensively, and we're seeing that a lot from most teams, and it's a lot more enjoyable to watch. And you're right, the possession game has probably gone up about 10 each at least. Yeah, it's what it feels like anyway.
All right, let's talk about Bryce Cotton before we take our first break. Yeah. So, coming off 59 points the week before against the New Zealand Breakers, 2 games this weekend. Firstly, at home to the Illawarra Hawks, and then on Sunday in Adelaide against the 36ers. He put up 89 points. He shot 66% from the field, 65% from 3, and he only missed one of his 21 free throws. Incredible. I mean, disgusting. How do you sum up what he's doing right now?
I don't know. I really don't know how to put it into words. It's just crazy. And again, this is something that, because it's Bryce, you're like, oh yeah, that sounds about right, And I mean, to put up 40 points with only shooting 5 free throws as well. And again, I think that a lot of that credit does go to guys like Wani, who did a really good job on him and didn't foul. And I mean, that could have been another 50-point game easy with the amount of free throws he's had in his last few games.
Well, he took 16 on Sunday.
Yeah. And I think it was 17 or 18 in his 59-point game. So I think they did a decent job on him. But when you've got a guy shooting the 3 at the clip he's shooting, he's shooting the 3 better than a lot of players are shooting free throws. And it's so impressive how efficient these games have been. And as many great performances as we've seen Bryce have, the efficiency is what stands out to me. And he's had games where it's been, lots of shots, but lots and lots of points. 21, 23 shots and still dropping 40, 49, 59.
He's actually more than 2 points per field goal he's taking.
That's got to be some sort of historical. I mean, you'd probably have Gazy that would be in that realm. Al Green maybe in that realm as well. But other than that, in the history of the league, there's probably not too many players that have done this for a game, let alone a stretch of games like this.
Well, I think Reg Biddings, who holds the 40-minute record with 63 points, I think he took almost 50 field goals to get that.
And that's what I mean. It makes it all the more impressive. And we all know Gazy wasn't shy of a shot. So, a lot of his high-scoring games would have been on lots of shots as well, which it is what it is. That's what they did. So, I think for me, the efficiency is what stands out and is what is just wildly impressive in this stretch for him.
I love hearing him talk about it afterwards, because he was asked why have you been able to do this in the last 3 games? And he goes, why ask why? Let me just enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't matter why, because it's working. And I feel like the month that he had off, he didn't do anything except sit there wishing he was out there playing 100%. Basketball. And I think it made him miss it so much, and he had a point to prove. And then he sees Chris Golding, like we talked about last week, have the 46. He sees James Bateman have the 51, and whatever the motivation is, I mean, it's incredible. Can he keep it up?
Oh, I don't see why not. He's kind of in one of those forms, and guys like this, once they're in that form, it's tough to get them out of it. And again, on the other side of it, I don't know why teams aren't throwing 2-3 people at him. Make everyone else beat you. Teams have got to switch it up somehow and try and stop him, because
for the most part, they are still playing him one-on-one, aren't they?
And Biggs are still in drops and all this. It doesn't make sense to me. Because we've got some pretty impressive coaches in this league, and for this to still be going on, I know it's like just a crazy stretch, but do something different.
Yes.
Like, surely teams are seeing this and like, all right, how can we get it out of his hands? Well, throw a double at him.
Yep.
Actually be higher on the screens and get it out of his hands some way. Because, again, you make everyone else beat you and it's a different ballgame.
Yeah. What do you think happens to him at the end of this season? I've got a theory I'll throw your way after I get your thoughts, but what do you think happens to him? Does he stay in Perth? Does he play at another NBL club? Does he go overseas? What do you think happens to him?
I find it hard to see him in another jersey in the league. I think Perth's kind of become his home for sure here.
Yep.
But from all reports, he's getting lots of money thrown at him from different leagues around the world. So a couple of the different Asian leagues, probably China and Japan, and then he's got NBA calling now as well. He's in that kind of strange stage in his career where he's not young anymore. He's kind of towards that, not the back end, because he's still got plenty of basketball to play, but he's kind of, if he wants to make all that money, it's probably got to be now.
Yes.
You know, and the China leagues, the Japanese leagues, they're all usually US dollars. So, you know, you look at the tag and you're like, oh, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Pretty much double it because, you know, it's US and I'm pretty sure it's all post-tax anyway.
Yes.
And just so it makes for a lot of money thrown at you that would be hard to walk away from.
Yeah. My thoughts are that I think we see him back in the NBA. I think NBA clubs will be loving what he's doing right now. The Wildcats fans can rest easy because he doesn't have an NBA out clause in his contract right now. So he has to see out this NBL season, and I think he would want to anyway.
Yes, absolutely.
But we've seen players at the end of an NBL season still finish that same season in the NBA and be part of playoff runs. I think we see that with him. I think another NBA team will give him a chance, and then potentially, if that goes well, he signs an NBA contract moving forward for next season and perhaps the year after. So maybe he gets that big pay deal from the NBA that he's perhaps could have had 10 years ago, but I think it might happen now.
Yeah, and that wouldn't surprise me either. I think that's certainly probably high on his priority list. I mean, it's high on any player's priority list is to make the NBA. I still don't think that he would make as much in the NBA as he would, say, in China.
Yeah, okay.
But, again, playing in the NBA is a lot higher on the bucket list than playing in China.
Yeah.
Again, when he first came over here, what I heard was he didn't want to go to a non-English speaking country.
Okay.
It was kind of out of his comfort zone a little bit. And now with the young family, it's probably there as well.
Yes.
So, yeah, who knows? I do think that there are NBA teams that could use him, for sure. I mean, with what he's doing, and he's been uber impressive. So, yeah, I'm sure there's more than one or two teams eyeing him off.
I do agree with you, though. If he stays in the NBL, I think it'll be at the Wildcats.
Yeah, like I said, I can't see him moving to another team. I don't think other teams are going to be able to pay that much more than what the Wildcats would anyway.
I think the Wildcats will be able to offer him somewhere in the $1 million mark.
Yeah, I think so.
So even if another team can match it, I don't think anyone else can pay more.
No, I don't think so. And there was a couple of articles written about, the highest ever offer thrown and in the realms of 1.5 and again, we don't know what happens behind the closed doors, but I mean that's a lot of money, so much money. So yeah, look, I don't think that another team would be able to draw him away, and I think that like I said, he's made his home here in Perth, so I don't think Cats fans should be too worried about that side of things.
All right, Cody, we'll take our first break here from Tap Touch and come back and plenty more for us to talk about.
Sounds good.
Can you picture the first goal before the ball has even bounced? Can you read the footy future in the mullet of a full forward? You've got the touch. Got the touch? Download the Tab Touch app today.
You win some, you lose more.
Okay, back on Hoop 7's Basketball Hustle. I'm here with Cody Ellis. Let's stick with the Perth Wildcats for now, Cody. They're playing great offense right now. I don't think they've figured things out defensively just yet. Look at their numbers from just this weekend where they lost to the Hawks and then they beat the 36ers. So they scored, amazingly, 226 points across the two games. Yep. They gave up 226 points across the two games. Yep. Their offense, no surprise when Bryce was doing what he was doing, but they had other guys step up as well, even without Christian Doolittle and Keanu Pinder. So they shot 54% from the field, 51% from three. They took 52 free throws across the 2 games, and they shot those at 79%, but they gave up 56% field goal shooting, 45% from 3, and they gave up 59 free throws. It's a massive difference. Can they have a successful season while their defense is leaky, but their offense is so lethal?
Yeah, look, they'll win some, they'll lose some, but once...
That's what we're seeing, aren't they? That's why they're 9 and 8.
Yeah, and playing it that way, you're probably going to split because there's lots of fairly impressive offensive teams around the league. So, you have to be able to stop teams, and they haven't been able to do that at all year. Yeah. Between that and kind of rebounding, I think is probably their big thing at the moment.
Again, they're out-rebounded by 10 across those 2 games too.
Yeah, and that's, again, for a team that recruited shooting and rebounding, it's just... And it's tough without Doolittle and Keanu.
But Windler hasn't been the rebounder that they expected, has he?
No, he had that one massive game early in the season, and that was kind of it. He's had some decent games since, but...
he's had some zero rebounding games too.
He's been pretty inconsistent with that, unfortunately. And, it is tough without, 2 of your better rebounders, but it's got to be a team effort. You can't have one guy going out and getting you between 10 and 15 every single game. That's obviously nice to have, but you've got to do it by committee for sure. And I think defensively they've got to do it too because it's been non-existent.
Yes, not everybody has a Tyrell Harrison, do they?
No, they don't.
Rob Lowe, your former teammate. I don't know if he's ever played better basketball than he is right now. He looks fully confident in this system. It's a system set up for him, and he comes up against bigger guys, and they just can't guard him on the perimeter. But he's also taken inside. And tell me your thoughts on the dunk and the celebration against New Zealand, Cody.
Dunk was great, but the celebration was the best. The little hop, skip, and a jump, and seeing Jack White's face was awesome as well. No, it was awesome. It was. Old Benjamin Button out here, having a heck of a season, and it's certainly fun to watch. I'm loving watching him play, and you're right, he's kind of the perfect fit for that system, and teams just don't know how to guard him because he's always coming up against the bigger guys, and does a really good job of stretching the floor, and he's starting to knock them down, which is good. But he's getting a lot of those little dump offs and finishes at the rims, and getting those O boards and putbacks, and he's always done a great job of getting teammates open, which is now in turn getting him open.
He's a great passer, isn't
he? He is.
How many passes did you catch from him?
Yeah, quite a few. Yeah, we worked pretty well together when we were at St. Louis. So, look, I think he's got such a massive or really high IQ for the game, so he reads it really well, and you're right, heck of a passer, and he's playing awesome. It's really cool to see.
He must have put himself in the discussion as the best 5 men in the league right now. I mean, you've got Will Magnay, you've got Tyrell Harrison. He's right in that discussion.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. 100%, and especially for a team that's probably one of the best and most consistent in the league. Yeah, he would. So he's certainly in that discussion for me.
Brisbane Bullets, we just hadn't seen a lot of them in the first 9 or 10 rounds of the season because they'd only played 11 games. All of a sudden, I feel like they're finding their groove. And I give credit to Justin Schuller because we thought a couple of times when they tried to play at a fast pace, especially in that first game against Melbourne, that maybe they were doing the wrong thing by trying to play at that pace and they were just going to get blown out of the water. But he stuck to his guns and maybe he's figured things out because they ran with Melbourne on Sunday. They beat Melbourne at Melbourne's own game and they put up 122 points and they beat them on the back of also beating Adelaide on the Friday night. They had a fantastic weekend. I mean, they shot 56% from the field against Adelaide. They had Casey Prather and Tyrell Harrison who were dominant, but then they had 4 guys score 25-plus points on Sunday against Melbourne. So Keandre Cook had 27, Prather another 27, Harrison 25, Bateman 25, and Mitch Norton is the one bringing it all together. He's the one that's helping all these shooters get open and finding them, and he himself had 28 points and 9 assists across the weekend. They really rode their starters, especially against Melbourne. I think they only had 1 field goal from anybody who wasn't a starter, but it's working. What do you think of what the Bullets are doing?
Yeah, they're starting to figure it out, right? And I think having a nearly back to old Casey Prather certainly helps that.
Yes.
Gives them that extra scoring punch, which I feel like they were kind of missing early in the season when he was still trying to find his feet a bit. And
He looks healthy.
He does. He looks
moving
good.
well.
He looks really good, and that's it's always good signs.
Yeah.
It's that's kind of the Casey that we thought we'd start to get towards the end of last year, but it's taken him a little longer to figure things out and get his body completely right, and seems like he's at that level now. So hopefully we can see this Casey for the rest of the season, and I'm sure Bullets fans are hoping that same thing. Nordo's been just awesome all year, so him just doing what he does and getting the team going, and if he can get a few buckets here and there as well, just to keep the defense honest, then that's just an advantage, and he's done a great job with running that team. And Cook's been awesome. Harrison, I mean, he's been a monster on the boards, and against Melbourne only had 6, but I think helping keep other guys off the boards in that one, and there wasn't a whole lot of missed shots, so there wasn't a whole lot.
And he can't have 18 like he did against Adelaide every night, can he?
No, but we've seen some really high rebounding nights from him this season, and it's exciting. And this is kind of the Harrison that we thought we'd see.
I think we both had him for most improved.
I believe so. Yeah. So.
He's got to be in that discussion now, surely.
Yeah. I think he's certainly up there, and he's if the Bullets can start putting wins on the board, then that discussion becomes a lot more real as well. But no, look, this is the Bullets that we thought we'd see at the start of the season, and obviously taken a bit to get into it. And I mean, to be able to beat Melbourne at their own game is something fairly impressive. So no, they're good to watch. They're really good to watch, and I think. The only disadvantage with riding, with your starting 5 and them being really the only guys doing much on the offensive end is they do tend to wear throughout towards the end of the season.
Especially now that they have a whole run where they've got 2 games every single weekend.
So those back-to-back games are going to really show us how good they are.
Yep. I think Josh Bannon coming back he'll become that 7th man that gets a lot of minutes, won't he? So that'll lessen the load a little bit. But it also means that Prather probably spends less time at the 4, which he's now thriving in that position.
He is. Yeah, he really is. And look, it is what it is. And inserting Bannon's only going to make them better.
Yes.
But you're right, it's going to throw some guys a bit out of whack in what's made them successful so far in these past few games.
Not so positive with the New Zealand Breakers. We were really concerned once they made the move to get rid of Freddie Gillespie and bring in Taco Fall. They were 7-3 at the time. They just won. I think it was in Cairns. He played his last game. They were farewelling him pretty emotionally after that win. They haven't won since, but not only have they not won since, they've lost by an average of 23 points a game since they've come back from the fever break against the Hawks, Wildcats, United, and the Kings. Taco Fall is the man that they wanted to bring in to. Did they do it to be more of a spectacle than anything else? I don't know what the thinking was, but across their 2 games this weekend, he had a total of 9 points, 8 rebounds, I think 3 turnovers, and he only played 13 minutes. And they've lost, pretty badly in both games. What have they made the wrong decision in hindsight?
Oh, for sure. The game in Cairns, they finished the round 7-3 and sitting top of the. Were they top or
they might have been top at that point.
They might have been top. I think Melbourne's probably played a few more games, so maybe Melbourne were on top, but equal first or sitting second, feeling pretty good about themselves and how they're playing, and certainly had shocked me with how they'd played because I didn't think they were going to be as good as they'd looked. And then you kind of throw this spanner in the works, and it's clearly not working. Taco is one of those guys that said he would help them out in the NBA games, kind of stuck around with them, came down here to rehab and stay around the team and just kind of stay around a professional team, which I totally understand.
But he also got injured before he was even able to play in those NBA games. He didn't even hit the court in those games.
No, he didn't. So it's not great signs because his health is obviously an issue, and trying to stay on the floor is an issue for him as well. And they just can't play him for more than a 2-minute stretch, unfortunately. And as cool as it is to have a 7'6" or whatever he is guy in the league, it's just that the league doesn't lend itself to have guys like that play. We talked about it. You look at guys like, your bigs, your Will Magnays, your Marcus Lees, even your Rob Lowe's that stretch the floor, your Frolings that can run the floor,
or Pinder, Almanza.
Yeah, you're not playing against the Cats. It's one of those things that there's no one in the league that I can see that he matches up well with. They've all got some sort of major advantage. Either they they're going to be able to run the floor a hell of a lot better than he can, or they can stretch the floor where he's not going to be able to get out. So look, it it's frustrating. It sucks to see, and I mentioned it before, but it seems like New Zealand fans are not overly happy or enjoying what's going on.
Well, you can understand why, because the reason they were 7-3 was because they were playing with great spirit.
Yep.
They really dug deep because they had a lot thrown at them. They were never at full strength at any point, but they found ways to win games. They had a couple of bad losses, but always the next game they bounced back really strongly. For the first time, though, after that Melbourne loss last Thursday, Coach Cotton, he called out his team saying that we gave up, basically. Yep. We didn't show any fight at all in the second half, and that's unacceptable, but can you blame the team when they've almost had their hearts ripped out of them, and they've seen how the organisation treats a player that was really popular and also playing well? Freddie Gillespie was playing well.
Yeah.
Can you blame the team for not having the same spirit?
Yes and no. I think that obviously that's a bit of a kick in the guts, and again, I'm not sure if Gillespie had EuroLeague out clause or what in his contract, and I think that should determine whether the team is upset or not, because
that means if it was his decision, or it's the club's decision.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that becomes a big part of it. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you're a professional basketball club. Like, you can't go and sulk and sit in the corner if something doesn't go your way. You've got to, all right, on to the next. Like, as much as that does suck, and losing someone that has obviously been super invested in the team and is one of the players' favourite players to be around, and
who's willing to headbutt Sean Bruce for his team.
Yep. You can't spit the dummy. It's a professional league. It's a professional club. You've got to have higher standards than that. You've got to be able to turn around and say, all right, how do we move forward with what we've got now? And you're right. I think that they haven't done that very well at all, and it seems like they are. There seems to be a bit more finger pointing and guys dropping their heads, and it's kind of been just a snowball effect, and it's not slowing down anytime soon, unfortunately, by the looks.
And they've got 2 more games this weekend. So they played Tasmania on Thursday, Adelaide on Saturday. So it's another one of those travel days in between, and that's it. Do they slip to 7-9? And is there no way back for them? Yeah, look,
I can't see them picking up a win again this weekend, unfortunately. And I mean, you look at their 4 straight losses. It's the Hawks, the Cats, United, and the Kings.
Yep.
So that's 4.
That's the top 4 teams.
Yeah, that's 4 elite teams. So okay, it is what it is. But it doesn't get any easier, because Adelaide now get Montrezl back.
Yep.
So they're another step closer to being full strength.
Yep.
Obviously still don't have DJ or Sunday, but they got 2 of the top 3 scorers in the league in their team.
Yes. And they got Tassie on Thursday, and playing well.
Exactly. And they've turned a corner and figured it out. So it doesn't get any easier. There is no easy games at the moment in this league, and they've really got to work out how they can turn the season around. Because again, like you said, they lose another 2 this weekend. That's 7-9. That's 6 straight losses. Yeah. All of a sudden, it's like, well, that's a long way to get ourselves back to even being in that top 6 discussion. So yeah, they've got to figure out real quick. And like I said, there's no nights off in this league. So it's a lot.
Are the Sydney Kings starting to figure it out? They did pretty well to beat the Breakers, but they got the Breakers at the right time. Clearly, they were sick last week as well. So Brian Goorjian mixed up his starting lineup and had Adams and Oliver both start on the bench, and the other guys all set the tone. I mean, Cooks and Tui and Kawhi and even Bruce and Leafa all set the tone, and then Adams and Oliver almost came on as the icing on the cake, and that worked out really well. They've also had a tough run. I mean, they played 16 games so far, 11 of them away from Sydney. So they've got 13 games left, and that's spaced out over 8 rounds. So they've got a pretty good run the rest of the way, and 9 of those 13 games are at home. So I feel like they've done well to be 8-8, given everything they've been through, and they're now starting to figure it out. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I do think they're starting to turn a corner, and I think playing Adams off the ball has been great. It's been kind of the best of both worlds for them, in that they're still getting what they want out of Jalen, and it's kind of injecting Brucey and Liafa into the lineup and making their roles, I guess, a bit more clear-cut and on what they want of them. And yeah, look, it's been good. And I think they've kind of had to do that because, you know, Adams has been hurt and his back's not been right. And so they don't want to just have him with the ball every possession because they want to just kind of ease him back into things, but still need him out there because, again, we've said it on every show, they're a different team with him off the floor. So I think that's something that they continue with. I think he's been just as effective playing off the ball. And, you know, Liafa and Brucey have kind of found their feet a bit this season. In start of the season, saw Kings fans calling for both their heads. And it's good to see because we thought these guys were going to be top of the ladder by a long way at the start of the season. But obviously some big-time growing pains, and that happens. So I think they've done a good job to be 8-8 at the moment.
Actually 9-7.
9-7?
I gave you the wrong stick.
Yeah, you did. So, yeah, look, I mean, even better. So 9-7, it's super impressive with a lot of those back-to-backs with the one game in between, like we saw Brian Goorjian complaining about. We won't go too deep into it, but those one day in between games is not great. So, but now that they've got 13 games and 8 rounds, there's not going to be a whole lot of those, and they've got a ton of those at home. So they'll be thinking that they've done pretty well to be where they're at this point of the season after the kind of slog and grind that they've been through so far. So Cooks is obviously going to do what he does. Tui's been great. Kwat Noi's been awesome coming off the bench and being that scoring punch that they need. Cam Oliver, similar, still one great game and then kind of disappears. And so
he was sick though on Saturday.
In
fairness,
oh, absolutely. And that's, you know, that is what it is. There's not much you can do about that. So, but again, the fact that they're just so deep that they can cover for a guy like Cam Oliver and still be as successful as they've been so far, I think is super impressive and probably danger signs for the rest of the league.
Are they still contenders in your mind?
I think so. Yeah, I think, like I said, they're slowly starting to figure it out. And if they do, then, it's certainly something that other teams will be nervous about.
What about the Cairns Taipans? So they've now lost 11 straight, but the last 4, they've all had a chance to win. So against the Phoenix, the JackJumpers, the Kings and the Breakers, it's only been by an average of 7 points, and all of those have been in single figures, and they've had a chance to win all 4 of those down the stretch. Does it get to a point where when you keep losing, it's really hard to know how to win a game?
Yeah, well, it is. And I think I said this last season, in winning and losing are both things that do become a habit within teams. And especially when you have close games and you can't quite get over the hump. I think we spoke about Tassie last year and how end of games, if it's close, well, Tassie's going to win it. They just know how to do it. And again, it does. It becomes that habit of, well, we know what we've got to do and go out and execute and do it. It's the opposite for Cairns this year, unfortunately. And look, while a few of these games have been blowouts, last few with a full roster have started to be those closer games now.
And they were leading by double figures at three-quarter time against the Phoenix.
It's tough. That's really tough. And that's the one that they'd be kicking themselves they couldn't finish off. But they haven't had a full roster pretty much all year. You know, this is really the first time we've seen them with the full cohort. And they are an exciting team still. I think that they've got a chance, if they can stay healthy, to be season ruiners for some teams. And they're not going to be a team that teams want to come up against late in the season if they're at full strength and starting to find a groove.
I think you're right. It's a really good starting 5. I mean, Bradshaw is a nice piece because he does a bit of everything. Then you've got Rob Edwards, who could be the best scorer in the league. Taron Armstrong, we know how good as a point guard he is, but also he can be a scorer. And then Sam Wardenberg, I think, is probably having the best season of his career. And as Tanner Groves plays more and figures out how to stay out of foul trouble again for a big, I think he can be effective as well. That is a starting 5. If they stay healthy, it'll make sure they stay competitive. Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, when you got a healthy Taron Armstrong in there, I mean, they look just as good as anyone. And look, it sucks that Wardenberg's kind of having the season he's having because no one's paying attention, you know, unfortunately. And that's kind of what happens when your team's losing. And 11 straight is not ideal now. So, you're right. They do have the pieces for it. And, you know, like I said, once towards the end of the season comes around and teams are like needing those must-win games, I wouldn't want to come up against Cairns with nothing to lose.
Adam Ford made an interesting observation after the game, and he feels like in these close games, his team's playing very tight. They're playing like the weight of the world is on their shoulders, but he wants them to play with freedom. He's figuring that we've lost 11 straight. We're 3-12. We shouldn't be feeling any pressure. We should be able to go and play with freedom because it can't get worse than it is right now. So go out and have fun and enjoy it. But he does sense that they're playing with that pressure of trying to get a win on the board. How do you get the team to change that sort of mindset? Yeah,
it's a tough one. And especially in that Southeast game, they played that to protect the lead rather than continuing to play the way that got them that lead.
Yes.
And you do kind of see this, especially with younger teams, that and a team that's lost 11 straight now is one that, you're right, as soon as towards that end of the game comes, everything tightens up and you just really want to get that win.
You want the win so bad.
You do. You want to, and I understand that completely. And look, they have no reason to have the weight of the world on their shoulders, you know, and 40's 100% right. You know, there's no reason that they should be tense and tight, and it's not like it's a playoff game that you need to win to make the grand final or something like that. Like, go out and have fun, enjoy it. Like, again, they're one of those teams that should be the loosest playing team just because their season's done. Their season's finished, right? There is no way that they're coming back.
No, well, they've got 14 games to go, and even if they win all of them, they might be lucky to make the top 6.
Might squeeze into the 6, and that's the thing, right? So they should be playing with as much freedom as anyone. And again, with a younger unit, it's tough to kind of drill that into them because they just want to win so bad. But yeah, I just think playing with that freedom is what's going to get them a win eventually, and they're going to be upsetters at some point in the season, and teams are not going to have fun playing against them.
We'll get to it after the break, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's this Saturday night when the Wildcats head to town. So we'll get to that shortly. Let's hear from Tap Touch, and we'll get to our preview of round 12.
Sounds good.
He'll make it for sure. That's why I backed him on Tap Touch.
You got the touch. You got the power. Got the touch? Choose Tap Touch. Better your bet. Download the app today.
Imagine what you could be buying instead.
Okay, back on Hoop 7's Basketball Hustle. I'm here with Cody Allison. Time for our preview, thanks to Tap Touch, of round 12. Cody, more than halfway through the season now. Flies by, doesn't it? Starts with a doubleheader on a Thursday night. So we've talked about this. It's back in Auckland for the Breakers, but not at Spark Arena. It's played at the old North Shore, which I'm sure you have some memories of playing at. I hope they wear those old uniforms as well, because it'll bring back a lot of memories from the championships they won in that building.
Yeah, look, I mean, they can't get an actual home game, can they?
No, it's true. No.
So, no, look, it's North Shore's a fun little place to play. Yeah. It's certainly very different to play in, but it's a lot of fun. So, yeah, you're right, though. If they can play in those old, the black and the blue and the light blue, that'd be cool to see.
Very similar to the old challenge, isn't it, in a way?
Yeah, a little bit. So, yeah, look, I've been lucky enough to play in both those stadiums in North Shore and Spark, and both lots of fun to play in. So, look, always tough to go over to New Zealand and get a win. But right now, Tassie, they're starting to play some really good basketball, and they're starting to play similar brand that they played last year that kind of helped win them the championship. I reckon Tassie probably go in and get that win, just because New Zealand have really hit a speed bump.
Yeah, 4 straight for the JackJumpers and 4 straight losses for the Breakers coming into the game. Second up, this will be a lot of fun. Brisbane Bullets at home to the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. When they played each other early in the season, I don't think either of them had a win at that point, and it was almost like a battle of the worst who could finally get a win on the board. Things have changed right now because they're both playing great basketball. So the Phoenix are now inside the top 6, coming off a couple of wins. The Bullets coming off those 2 big wins last week as well. You know, they're 6 and 7, so they've played less games than everybody else. So they've got less losses than most teams around them. So they're in the mix too. Nathan Sobey going back to Brisbane for the first time as well. This one has all the hallmarks of being a great contest. Yeah,
for sure. And I think we saw Brisbane win that one by only a couple points. Yeah, look, and all the hype around it was the Sobey and Schuler back and forth, unfortunately. So, I'm glad nothing's been said about that at the moment, and we're kind of worried.
I feel like in that game was the only thing to look forward to in that game because both teams were sucking so bad. Right now, you can actually talk about how good they're playing.
And they're both playing a completely different brand of basketball than we saw back, round 4 or 5, whatever it was. Yeah. Both playing very fast pace, so I expect this to be a fairly high scoring affair, and really looking forward to it. It's again, it's a bit of a flip of the coin, but for a better reason now.
Yes.
Look, I reckon that the Phoenix will just be that little bit better defensively in this one. So I'll go with Southeast on that.
One game on Friday night, but it's going to be a good one as well. Melbourne United at home to the Illawarra Hawks. We saw what happened last time they played, and Justin Tatum was anything but happy with what he saw right in front of him with Chris Goulding, and everything blew apart. This is the first time they've played since. It's first against second. What do you think?
I will actually be in the building for this one. So, heading to Melbourne with the fams, and we'll be sitting in the stands for this one. So, actually really looking forward to it because this should be a heck of a game. And two of the better teams to watch in the league at the moment. And look, we've seen some really good games between these two teams of recent. And look, I think Melbourne usually bounce back really well, but so do the Hawks. So it's an interesting one. I do think that Melbourne get it just because they're at home. But again, this is another one that's a bit of a flip of the coin. So I'll go with Melbourne just because I'm going over to see Rob. So if I bet against him, then I might not be allowed to catch up with him. So.
You're talking about how fun they are to watch. Melbourne's averaging 97 points a game all season. Illawarra's averaging 99.
Yeah, it's very impressive, and two high-scoring teams, but two teams that play defense as well. So it's primed for a Friday night blockbuster.
Two more on Saturday. Adelaide 36ers at home to the New Zealand Breakers. So we haven't talked about the 36ers. They got Kendrick Davis back to play the Wildcats on Sunday. He was great, 37 points, 11 assists. Sunday Detch was doing a great job on Bryce Cotton up to that point, and I think once he went off halfway through the second quarter, the game changed, and I think Bryce only had 15. I mean, only 15 to that point, and he scored another 34 once Sunday went off the court. So Sunday Detch now joins DJ Vasiljevic sidelined with hamstring injuries, but they get Montrezl Harrell back up against the New Zealand Breakers. This has all of the hallmarks of a 40 and 20 game for Montrezl. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he's probably has to. Like he has to if they want to get this one. Look, Adelaide are in that boat of can't catch a break at the moment. Obviously having their, I think at the time was first and third scorers in the league in Davis and Montrez out. Finally get Davis back, but you lose DJ because of a hammy, and now we get Montrez back, but no Sunday. Yes. So it's kind of trading off at this point. But look, I expect Montrez to come out and have an absolute monster of a game, and not just because of kind of who they're matching up against, but just a bit of a kick in the face to everyone around the league and that kind of a thing. And
he was already playing with great energy.
He was.
But I feel like he now comes back with a real chip on his shoulder.
Absolutely. It's going to be fun to watch, and I'm pretty excited for it. And I actually do think Adelaide get this one, and New Zealand, like we expect, drop their sixth straight.
Yep. No, I mean, the travel doesn't help either.
No, it doesn't.
They play Thursday night in Auckland, travel to Adelaide on Friday, play Saturday. Yeah. The first game on Saturday as well. The second game on Saturday, this one's interesting. So the Cairns Taipans, like we talked about, a win surely can't be far away for them. The Perth Wildcats now in the middle of their big road run until the middle of January. I don't know the status of Doolittle or Pinder. I imagine at least one of them. I imagine Pinder should be back. I'm not sure on Doolittle. What do you think? This one's a tough one to pick.
It is a tough one, and purely because Cairns are full strength, and playing up in Cairns is a tough ask. Cats obviously going in undermanned again, like we expect, but with Bryce playing the way he's playing, I'm not sure who would actually guard him. Yeah. So you probably have Bradshaw guarding him just for that length. Yeah. Again, like
actually, what about John Antonio? He might get a fair crack at it too.
They'll probably, he probably will, and it'll be one of the like sit in his pocket, don't care about help, nothing. You have no other responsibilities but Bryce Cotton. Sure. Again, teams have tried that and it doesn't work. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing what 40 throws, because he's actually one of the better coaches in the league at adjusting that kind of a thing.
He's not going to just let him get an easy 49 points, is he?
No, he's not. And most of the coaches out there, I think he's probably one that will throw double teams at him and traps and that kind of a thing, and he'll have their bigs up and showing and more aggressive on Bryce in this one. So
I think he'll also chirp him from the sidelines.
Oh, he absolutely will.
40.
Yeah, absolutely. And there'll be a good bit of back and forth there, I'm sure. So, no, look, excited for this one. I still just think the Cats get it. I think they're playing, like, obviously Bryce is having his historical stretch, but I think in general the Cats are actually playing pretty well on the offensive end. They're putting up lots of points, and like I said, it's not just Bryce. Like, they've had lots of contributors in these last few games that have helped them get over the line, and I reckon the Cats probably get that one.
How many for Bryce?
Ooh, 38.
Ooh,
I reckon he breaks the 40. I reckon they break the 40th streak.
All right. 2 more games on Sunday, and the streak might keep going of these Sunday entertaining games as well, because these are 2 pretty exciting games as well. So first up, a throwdown, Southeast Melbourne Phoenix and Melbourne United. All of a sudden, we'll see how it goes on Thursday night, but you'd think the Phoenix have a real hope up against Melbourne, and they do genuinely lift when they take on their big brothers too. Yeah, and should be in the building for this one as well. Yep. So excited for that one. And yeah, look, I think Melbourne's got the wood over the Phoenix at the moment. I think they've won some crazy numbers straight against them. Well, there you go. That completely goes against what I said.
Yeah, but but you're right, because it's always a decent game. Yeah. It's not usually a blowout, but the Phoenix just haven't been able to get over the line, I think, is the issue. But yeah, look, again, a different looking Phoenix team at the moment. Yes. So looking forward to it. Let's go with the Phoenix breaking that streak. Yep. I reckon it's going to be a good game regardless, and both teams playing earlier in the week. Melbourne not having to travel, which is handy for them, but Phoenix get that extra day. So,
and knowing their history with Illawarra, it could be a quadruple overtime game to play anyway.
Exactly. So, look, I'm actually really looking forward to that one.
Last up, Sydney Kings and the Brisbane Bullets. So the Kings will be pretty fresh. So they're on the game of the weekend. The Bullets would have played on Thursday, but at least they got an extra day. I think you can handle Thursday to Sunday. So the Bullets they've got a really bad record against Sydney in recent times as well, similar to what they had against Melbourne. But this is a different Bullets team. But the Kings are fresh for one of the few times this season. Nice way to finish the round. Yeah, very nice way to finish the round. And again, it's always tough when you play a fresh team on the back of a double. But it happens in this league all the time. So it's hard to argue against. But look, I do think the Kings get it. I think being at home and being fresh, they've got all the time in the world to prepare for Brisbane. And look, I expect the Bullets and the Phoenix on Thursday to be a bit of a grind and a slog. So I think, especially with only playing that 5, 6, 7 with Bannon in, hopefully. I don't know if Bannon will be back, and they're still missing Bairstow, still missing Dengadell, so they're missing some bodies. Yeah, and that's going to make it hard on the back of a double, and especially against the Kings team that is well rested and ready to go. And I think the Kings get that one. Question without notice. Yep. We talked last week about the Phoenix and the JackJumpers, how they're making a charge. I want to put the Bullets in that mix as well. So right now, the 3 of them are all playing as well as anybody, but I don't know if there's room for all 3 in the top 6. Out of those 3, how many make the top 6 and which ones? That's tough. That is a tough one. So what we've got Phoenix at 7 and 8, Tassie at 7 and 8, and Brizzy at 6 and 7. So Brizzy have got a few more games to play. They've got 16 more games to go. Yeah, so that's a lot. And the issue with that is a lot of those are going to be doubles. Yes. So I think there's only 8 rounds to go, so that every one of them is a double. Yeah. So that's going to be an issue. I think if they're going to have to, at the very least, split them all, and even then it's not going to be enough to make. I think you have to have an over 500 record to make it, I think. Yeah. So they've got to find a way to win back-to-backs, and that's tough in this league. It's tough in this league, especially when you end up coming up against a Sydney Kings that are fresh and ready to go on the road. So it's I think of those 3, you're right. I do think 2 make it, and at the moment I would say Phoenix and Tassie, just because their schedule is slightly better than what Brisbane's is. And so the Phoenix are in there right now. So you probably think Tassie replaces New Zealand? Yeah, I think so. New Zealand won't make it.
there's not a world where I see them making it, unfortunately, and I do think Tassie slot into that.
You don't think Adelaide will find a way back in?
It depends how long DJ's out.
It also
how long
depends
Sunday's
how
out.
unstoppable Montrez is when he comes back. He might be completely unstoppable. He might be unstoppable, or he might have one dominant game and then he just goes back to sort of usual.
Yeah, it's I'm not sure. It's tough. 6 and 8's tough, and especially with key bodies out.
Well, they've lost 4 straight now. They haven't won since that happened in Melbourne.
Yeah. So it's tough for them. They've really got to turn it around, unfortunately. And look, I can't see them at this point slotting in there.
All right, that preview thanks to TabTouch. Head to tabtouch.com.au or the TabTouch app and check out all of the odds and some exclusives there for the upcoming week. Before we wrap up, Cody, you're about to jump on a plane. What have you and the family got planned for the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, so heading to Melbourne for a week and then off to Sydney for a week. So spend Christmas with my brother. Should be good. Catch up with a few mates over in Melbourne and Sydney, and hopefully catch up with Simon. Not that I've had and Trig over there, but not that I've had time to message either of them because work's been ridiculous. But good little break and looking forward to it. So it's. Lauren wants to go to 4 different games, so we'll be catching plenty of NBL action.
It's funny, isn't it? She's probably more excited about that than you are at this point.
Yeah, I think so. I'm still not in the headspace to be going to games, so it feels very strange being sitting in the stands to me still. So, but no, look, it's exciting stuff, and be good to get over to Sydney and even down to Wollongong in the old stomping grounds and catch up with some people hopefully. And looking forward to kicking back and relaxing for a little bit because I haven't done that in some time.
No, sounds good, and we'll figure out a way to keep doing our show while you're away. It's been a lot for us to cover. We look forward to this weekend to come. I'm Chris Pike, but I'll leave it there for another week and let you have the final word, Cody.
Yeah, no, looking forward to this round. I think it's going to be some fun basketball, and look, after saying that, I am looking forward to sitting in and watching a couple of Melbourne games this weekend. So looking forward to it.
Can you picture the first goal before the ball's even bounced? You might have the touch. When the weather's wet, can you feel who'll triumph? You've got the power. Can you read the footy future in the mullet of a full forward? Then you too might be harnessing the power of the touch. Got the touch? Download the TabTouch app today.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.